Every election season, conversations around diaspora voting continues to be rife, but government is yet to see reasons to change its stance. INEC chairman Yakubu Mahmood Yakubu, I should say, had argued that citizens of Nigeria living outside the country make considerable contributions to the economy through their diaspora remittances and should be able to vote, as diaspora voting was consistent with global best practices. But that didn't change the minds of members of the National Assembly who overwhelmingly voted against the bill for an act to alter the provisions of the Constitution to provide for diaspora voting. This occurred earlier in the year, clashing the hopes of Nigerians in the diaspora who had thrown their weight behind the bill. But the Nigerian government's record says the country has about 17 million of its nationals in the diaspora. A healthy number, it says, which can impact the voting direction in the election, maybe not in 2023, as of course lawmakers have had their say. But for Nigerians in the diaspora, they believe that if they are allowed to remit billions of dollars back home, they should also be allowed to exercise their voting rights. And that's the crux of our discussion at this time. We'll be bringing in via Zoom a Belgium-based public affairs analyst, Colin Suweke, to speak on this during the course of this time slot. But we have in the studio presently the welfare officer of the National Union of Nigerians Association in Italy, Mike Opute. Welcome to TVC Breakfast.
Thank you. So, what is the state of the agitation by Nigerians abroad for electoral participation in Nigeria?
Well, thank you. Good morning, Nigerians. And
Good morning.
I can say the state of the agitation is, at the moment, we are still pushing very hard for us to be part of the voting. You see, because it is our civil right in diaspora to be able to elect those that will direct the affairs of this country, because we are Nigerian. And we believe it is our right. And to us, it is a non-negotiable. That is why we are still pushing. So we are still at the stage of pushing it at the level of the National Assembly.
And how far have you gone with that, seeing as the lawmakers at the federal level had their say in an overwhelming way, saying from their stance that Nigeria wasn't ready yet for this move?
Well, I would say to an extent, the lawmakers are biased, excuse me, because they are representing Nigeria, and we are Nigerian. And most of us come home to vote for them. And most of the lawmakers, before the elections, they cried to we in diaspora for support. They tell us different kinds of promises, and we tell them, this is what we want. We want to be part of this election. We want to vote. They will tell us, oh, it's easy. We'll do that. We'll make sure the bill goes through. But when they get there, the music, they start playing a different music from what they have promised us. So when I say they come to ask for our support, for them to get there so that they will to like hail our view, you know, in the National Assembly. But since they are not doing that, we decided to change the music and to say, okay, let us be part of those that will vote from diaspora. So we want to vote. We have more than 17 million Nigerians in diaspora. So I think we should be part of.
Have we ever done a real census of how many Nigerians abroad? How do we come about that number? I mean, in terms of those who are of voting age.
Yes, if you want to, you see, talking about the real census of Nigerians in diaspora, you can easily get that because each country, in a developed country, you know, have numbers of legally resident Nigerians in their various countries. Like in Italy, where I base, I can tell you because we have numbers of Nigeria that are legally resident, and we have those that
How
are
many? How many are legal residents in Italy?
in Italy, legally resident is about 152,000 Nigerians.
152,000
Nigerians.
As
Nigerians.
at when?
And what of those who are not resident? Do you have an idea?
Yes,
Because if we have a
Visitors,
voting,
right.
a voting, what do you call it, system abroad, even if you're not resident there, you're still legitimate in
Yes.
Nigeria.
The fact that you are
So do you
there
have
at the
an
moment.
idea of how many Nigerians? I'm surprised that the number is this low, 100 and something thousand.
Yeah, those are
residents.
that is the figure the Italian government gave to us.
Yes.
And we have, I would say that we have more illegal immigrant Nigerians in Italy,
Yes.
but that are of age to vote.
So those of age to vote is 150,000. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Who are of age to vote? But in
Yes.
totality, how many are they in Italy, for example?
Well, I can say in Italy,
Double
total
or
Nigeria.
triple?
No, let's say triple
And this figure was as at when? When was it last updated?
as at last year.
Right. But still building up on Sam's question, there's also this concern as to, there is, this valid concern as to how many are, our brothers and sisters abroad. How many are they really? There's, of course, those who don't even have the regular kind of work. Are they being captured accurately in the system? And then what about Nigerians living in African countries, in Ghana and, our neighbors and beyond? Are these substantial chunks of Nigerians also captured in the system?
Yes, they are. Coming to look at it, those that are not illegal migrants, not that they are not working. They are working, they make ends for themselves. But then, why would say they are illegal migrants? Because they've not been giving their resident permit, but they have temporal permit that they are using. But for now, I would say those Nigerians in other African countries, they are being carried along also because I think 2 years ago I was in South Africa and I met some of the Nigerians associations, and they are saying that if we start it in Europe, if we start it in Europe, they will join us.
Why can't they start it in South Africa?
Like you see, that year was the year we had this xenophobia crisis. So that xenophobia crisis killed their intention. But we are communicating, like those in U.S., Mr. Francis, in Texas, even yesterday we were chatting and he was telling me, if I go all the way, we'll keep pushing and so on, and we'll just believe that things will work out good.
All right. Let me put you on hold, Mr. Opute. We have Collins Oweke joining us now virtually. He's a public affairs analyst based in Belgium, and I reckon this is a topic you're very much at home with. It's good to see you again. Welcome to TVC Breakfast, Collins Oweke. So from your own end, is Nigeria indeed ready for this move? We might just say we've ruled out Nigerians in the diaspora voting in 2023, but beyond? What about beyond?
Well, Nigerians out here have long been ready. Unfortunately, it will not happen in 2023, at least not by the last count. I mean, when, the National Assembly actually turned down the request for Nigerians in diaspora to vote. However, there are many ways in which the diaspora out here are participating in Nigerian election. Of course, not being able to adapt the law to enable diaspora voting is unfortunate. Of course, the diaspora continue to, fight hard to make it happen. Of course, it appears basically impossible that it will happen in 2023. But like I said, the diaspora are participating in different other ways, either as candidates or mobilizing for others. And I believe that what is actually behind that is essentially the annoyance of the National Assembly turning down for now the diaspora voting. That has actually galvanized the diaspora and brought out quite a number of them to get engaged. So we are looking forward to seeing a very massive diaspora engagement in the 2023 election in Nigeria.
Well, we have somebody here, Puta from Italy. You are in Belgium. How is the state? How is the coordination among you guys politically in Europe?
Well, I must say that in the 2023 or in the run-up to the 2023 general election in Nigeria, there have been very serious diaspora-specific, movements. Let me put it this way. Before 2023, before the upcoming election, the political engagement of diaspora was more or less restricted to, the antenna of the two major political parties in Nigeria operating out of Europe. Okay, so what I meant was that the PDP APC had the diaspora chapter. That was what it was. But about a year or two ago, one of the political parties, ADC, actually voted to make the diaspora a zone in itself, as one of the political zones of Nigeria. And that has meant indeed that, the diaspora got very much mobilized, got very much galvanized. Now, beyond that, I believe that the fact that they are, the legislators in Nigeria are toying with the diaspora in terms of not voting, diaspora voting into law, has actually offended quite a lot of people to the extent that, they have felt, well, we've got to take the bulls by the horn and participate in this election in other ways than actually casting our physical votes from the diaspora. If I have a bit of a leeway, I should be able to, outline some of the ways that the diaspora are engaging in the run-up to the 2023 general election, short of actually, casting their vote from the diaspora.
All right, we'll get to that in a moment, but we've seen some engagement with the presidency and Nigerians in the diaspora. I think it was Portugal that the president visited recently, and when he met with with Nigerians there, after listening to them, the feedback gotten from him was a kind of concern about the use of social media by Nigerians in the diaspora, and he urged them to use social media wisely in those reports, saying that they seem to have some form of impact. We've seen some rather divisive comments from many Nigerians living abroad, with some even saying that there is some form of sympathy for secessionists or people who are clamoring for a breakaway in Nigeria, that there is more sympathy for them than indeed Nigerians who are living in the country at the moment. What's your take?
Well, from all indications, there is a gross misunderstanding of the current administration about the social media landscape. Now, there is no point to prove here. After all, we're talking about a government that has actually taken steps to actually constitute a call on the wheel of social media. The reason they are doing that is basically out of fearfulness. And that fearfulness derives from the fact that they just don't know how these things run. Now, they need to understand that the social media has come to stay. I mean, it is like trying to cover a pregnancy with a hand. It just doesn't work. So what the government needs to do is to understand the social media a bit more rather than trying to guide, social media users. That's on one hand. Now, on the other hand, I have to tell you that, yes, the secessionist movement, just like you have it in Nigeria, yes, they are quite active out here in Europe. The point is that, those who make the loudest noise appear to be the ones that people hear. That doesn't necessarily mean that they constitute, a majority. No, they are in the minority, but they are well organized using the social media, and that creates the impression that they are making waves. Now, let me just draw your attention to something that is currently ongoing, just to hit home my point. Since the advent of the Peter Obi movement, you can actually observe that attention had been taken away from the secessionist movement to supporting Peter Obi's movement. And the reason for that is simple. People want hope. People need to get the message of hope. And if there is message of depression all over the place, if there is message of lack of aspiration, now people are want to stick together and begin to represent all sorts of havoc. I think that was what we saw with the time before the P2P movement, when people engaged, because those that support the secessionist movement actually told them the kind of things they wanted to hear. They had some aspirational messages for them. So they went along with them. But P2P came and they had other messages, and so they have turned, to his direction.
Mr. Weke, let me put you on hold and run this to check with Mr. Opute for his assessment of the situation on ground.
Okay, my own view is that, to be honest, most Nigerians abuse the opportunity they have using the social media. Why do I say this? Nigeria is our country, and only Nigerians can fix Nigerians. The foreigner will not come here to fix Nigeria for us. You see, it hurts me a lot to see Nigerians saying all sorts of rubbish about Nigerians on social media, posting it on social media. I'm not saying don't say things the way they are, but don't polish it. Nigerians in the diaspora, just like what Uche just said.
Call it
call it Wiki. And he said the noisemaker, those that make the loudest noise, they don't make impact. For example, somebody will go on social media, like it has happened many times in Italy, whereas I have to come up on social media myself to counter such information. Now, people coming to attack the Nigerian embassy in Italy, for something that never existed, things that didn't happen. Imagine people would say that the Nigerian embassy denying them of having passports, denying them of not being captured, or blah, blah, blah. Then some will say all sorts of this. See, this is the first time this government is giving us a career ambassador, a person of His Excellency Omini Naman. He has changed the narrative of Nigerians in Italy. Before now, Nigerians are known for criminals. Nigerian ladies are known for prostitutes. You ask a question that how many Nigerians do I know that are in Italy? It was through the career ambassador we got to know the numbers of Nigeria in Italy, because most of these politicians are not asking the right questions for us, are not giving us the correct information. But you will see Nigerians going on social media to abuse all these things. Okay, talking about the division, just like you said, like me, I believe in one Nigerian. And when I see Nigerians talking about Nigerian being divided, agitation for pulling out from Nigerians, I look at them the way they are doing it in Europe, and I tell them, I say, how do you intend to gain this? You are here making noise, but you are not doing anything back at all about getting your own republic. So I would say that the social media thing in Europe is not encouraging by Nigerians.
Well, there's also evidence that some countries in Africa have even started doing it. You know, Guinea-Bissau, for instance, they do it. And the way they do their own is that they have some countries outside Guinea-Bissau in Africa where they can do it. For instance, they can do it in Senegal, Gambia, Guinea, Cape Verde, and Mauritania. And then in Europe, you can do it in Portugal, Spain, France, Belgium, and England. Now, in Morocco also has it, and we're very few Africans. Most of the world already have voting systems abroad. But have you talked about the kind of statistics, the kind of logistics that this will entail? Because you guys want the agitation, but you're not coming with ideas about how this will happen. For instance, if you are living in El Paso in the US, how would you go and vote on voting day? Or how would you organize it? The voting, you know, they do it in the US. They give them periods,
yes,
and so on. Like in the US, you can mail in within a particular period of time. Have you guys sat down to do it? Because up to today, out of 214 countries, 115 already have provisions for external voting.
Okay. Yes, we have. We have sat down. We have looked at how, because the first thing that came into our mind is that when we start this process of diaspora voting, the first thing we will hear that it will be used as a medium for ringing. So, just like you said, other countries are already doing it. How are they doing it? Now we have BVN, we have NIN, we have our international passport. Why don't you link all these things? Our numbers, no passport number, no Nigerian passport number carry the same numbers. These are the method, these are the strategy the countries you just mentioned, they are using. When I see Guinea-Bissau, you know, in my city, you know, then this other countries, when they were voting, I look at it, you mean you are letting your leaders in Africa? How do you do it? They come with their passports, and their BVN is linked with their passports.
And it's done at the airport?
No.
At the embassy, rather.
It's done in their embassy. I was surprised. I said, wow, so you can do this. In fact, that was what prompted most of us to say, we must join these people. If this can be done, okay. Now, last time I came to Nigeria, I wanted to change my passport to the 10 years. So my passport number, my date of birth, in my NIN and my passport was not tallied. So they said I had to correct it. So let's use our passport number to work with and to vote. So INEC should help us create a centers in all the Nigerian missions. We will travel down. If we can travel down from our various cities to get our passport in the various missions, we can travel down to go and cast our vote.
All right, Mr. Nweke, what's your take on this? 115 countries are already adopting this. What's stopping us, looking at our present structure, from doing same?
Stopping us is because there is lack of purposefulness amongst the legislators. The legislators are simply running scared. Now, if anybody tells you that the reason we do not have diaspora voting in Nigeria is because of logistics, the person is simply being disingenuous. That is simply not the case. Nigeria is ready and has actually been ready for diaspora voting long before now. Like my colleague in the studio mentioned, we do have biometric passports. I mean, it's not something that just came to be. It's been around for quite a while. In addition to that, there is BVN. We have also had now NIN and so on and so forth. Now, to collect the data isn't a problem. And just like every other place in the world, voting is not compulsory. Those who are interested in voting, also in diaspora, would be required to register to vote, and the embassy is there as a Nigerian house outside Nigeria where people can vote. They actually have the data, and then so the logistics is not a big deal. And just to answer the question very directly, there are Nigerians out here in diaspora that are managing the voting systems of the countries where they live in. So the human resource is actually there, the base that we need to get things going. So if anybody tells you that, well, it is because they don't know how to go about it, that is simply, being mischievous. The legislators need to get their hands together. They need to eschew fear, because the fear they have is that the diaspora might be in a position to actually determine the outcome of elections, because they know that it will be difficult to buy the diaspora vote, and so they are trying to delay it as much as they can. There is no other explanation for that. It's just as simple as that. But you see, it is something whose time has come, and it will happen, whether this crop of legislators like it or not. The time has come, and it will happen someday.
Right. We didn't get to talk about the constitutional implications, how to surmount, that. But we've run out of time. Colin Suweke, always a pleasure to have you. Thank you for speaking with us and sharing your contributions from Belgium. Of course, we also thank you, the Welfare Officer, National Union of Nigerian Association in Italy. Michael Putte, it was a pleasure indeed having you with us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure too.
Thank you.